Today is August 17th, 2026. I'm Connie Barlow, and this is the third episode in a video series that I've been doing just in the past month that I've titled Lingering Ash Trees in Michigan. Now I have to confess, I just got overconfident that I had actually found ash trees, native ash trees here in the Midwest, actually ground zero. Michigan was right where the emerald ash borer was first discovered in 2002. I'm in southeast Michigan along the Huron River, a little west of Detroit. The scientists think that the emerald ash borer, native to northeastern Asia, they think that the emerald ash borer probably got here in the 1990s, delivered in the pallets of boxes that use wooden planks in it for carrying goods over to a heavy industrial area, Detroit, Michigan. So however they got here, the point is they were devastating everything, just devastating all of the species of ash tree. The two possibilities for what I have, probably green ash is what was growing right along the elevated bottomland in the Huron River, about a half mile from where I live. White ash possibility too, but really green ash, and they were really hit hard, the green ash species. Now the emerald ash borer, there's been a lot that's gone on that I've talked about in the previous episodes about how our native woodpeckers might be starting to help out. They've learned how to listen for them, the larvae underneath the bark, eating the inner part of the living tissue under the bark. Learn to listen for them, to find them, making holes for getting in. Also, right here in Michigan, the stocking of parasitic wasps that over in northeastern Asia are capable of holding this emerald green ash borer beetle in check. They don't take them all out, but they do hold them in check, and that's all that we need. Just another. We have other bark beetles here, but this is one that's not native to this state. And our ash trees did not evolve with any resistance against it. But some have been found to have some level of resistance, and that's what the scientists have been going after, asking citizens and others to report if they see any ash trees that took longer to die than all the other ones around them. So here I trot out into the woods 24 years after the emerald ash borer was first discovered here. And certainly 15 or 20 years after the first wave of just completely wiping out whatever ash didn't have some resistance. But they have been finding some ash with some resistance, and so of course they're putting together breeding orchards where they can try to breed them together and gradually through time get more and more resistance, such that the parasitic wasps that have been brought in from Northeast Asia and released here, they were tested to make sure they're not going to wipe out any other insect species, but just the emerald ash borer larvae. Certainly that, and then also the ability of the woodpeckers to take care of the situation. But a bit of resistance for the tree itself to be able to detect a larvae and then form a callus around it and prevent it from hatching out. So here are the titles of the 3 episodes thus far, and I must say there might be a 4th one, but I'll be waiting till later in the fall when all the leaves have dropped, and I'll talk about why that's the case. Episode 1, Introduction and Quest. Again, that's for the question mark about, are there lingering ash here still in southeast Michigan? Episode 2 was called The Bark as Indicator. The bark as indicator, and this is where I was starting to recognize that I had overconfidence in episode 1, that if I saw the bark that was so indicative of our ash trees, particularly green ash and white ash, not so much of the other ash, but these two, indicative bark, I thought I had it nailed. Wrong. The bark is not a full indicator. There is one kind of hickory, the bitternut hickory, that unfortunately has the same kind of bark. And what you'll see here in episode 3, called The Canopy Casts Doubt, this is where I end up where I don't think any of the trees that I've really looked at are green ash or white ash. I think they're bitternut hickory. And that's because the main element of a characteristic to distinguish an ash from a hickory is the pattern of the branches, and that's mostly visible out where the leaves are densest towards the end, where nothing is broken off along the branch along the way. But you can't see that in summer when the leaves are so full. And so the branch pattern for a hickory is alternate. That is, you'll have here, then here, then here, then here. Branch pattern for an ash and maple, I have a lot of maples down there as well, especially box elder. You'll see box elder in this episode 3. But maple is opposite. Ash is opposite. And that means here, 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 here. And both the hickory and the ash have compound leaves, and that means the leaflets are coming out, and the leaflets are opposite. But that doesn't mean that the leaves are opposite. In hickory, they're alternate. So that's the main point of this third episode, The Canopy Casts Doubt. And it's really about looking for opposite versus alternate branching pattern. And the way I'm doing it is really looking for the dead and downed ash trees to see whether we really did already have an instance of emerald ash borer coming through. And to see that, you look under the bark or where the bark has fallen off, and you see what's called galleries. That's where the little caterpillar-like larvae under the bark are taking and eating the fleshy phloem, some of the xylem as well, but really the phloem, the sugar-rich area of the tree, and eating through it, and thus making tunnels in what looks to us like wood. So that's probably the most important part of this episode 3, besides eating humble pie, that my excitement about the first 2 episodes is really gone. We might not have any living ash trees here along the Huron River. Now, a little bit of detail on episode 3. I start actually in the cemetery. The trail system I put in, it's non-designated land, post-industrial, right along the Huron River, bottomland area the forest goes down into. But the cemetery, like any cemetery, has some big trees in it, but the big trees did not have to grow in competition with other trees in a dense forest like they did have to grow along the Huron River. And so the trees in the cemetery, I first take a look at a couple hickories down there in the cemetery itself, because they have low enough branches. There wasn't tree competition going on. They have low enough branches that I can actually look and see the alternate pattern that they have, not opposite. Now, there'll also be places in this video where the hickory nuts are visible now. And so that's obvious. If I see a nut, ash seeds are not nuts. I'll put some pictures over here as to what they look like. And you can't even tell this time of year if a tree doesn't have an ash seed on it. Doesn't mean it's not an ash, and that's because ash come in both females and males. So if it's a male tree, it'll have pollen in the spring, but it won't have seeds in the fall. So again, this episode, it's going to really concentrate on the opposite versus alternate, and the advantage of this one over the other ones, and that I think the experts might find really useful, and for teaching others who haven't been looking for this, is the variety of patterns I've found on the fallen old ash logs as to what the borer tunnels look like, the larvae boring through. A variety of designs, and I can't even be sure whether it's only one kind of beetle, the emerald ash borer, or there may be other kinds, or if indeed one of these trees isn't even an ash and it has a different kind of borer beetle. So that's a very useful thing for seeing the images of the galleries that have been carved by the insects underneath the living bark. So back to why late this fall I may or may not have another video to post. And again, that's just because I have to wait for the leaves to fall in order to see the ends of the branches, to see if it's opposite or alternate pattern. And I actually have to wait a lot longer than after the ash and the other trees lose their leaves. And it's all because of a non-native plant that's come in. And when the ash trees died, boom, it took over. It's a subcanopy, woody, might call it a shrub, but it can get multi-stemmed 20 feet high. And that's the AMUR honeysuckle, Linicera macchii. And it drops its leaves so late in the fall, and they come out so early in the spring, that there's a limited opportunity for really being able to take a zoom camera and see up into the very high part of the canopy and look at the structure, the pattern of the twigs coming off the ends of the branches. Again, alternate or opposite. The other thing I'll be doing when I go back out there late in the fall is I'm not going to be looking for the large ones. That's all I was looking for in these part 3 here, the large, the really big ones, you know, at least this big, some this big. What I'm going to be looking for, more like the 5-inchers, because these would have been the ones that were too thin back in 2002 through 2008 for the emerald ash borers to actually lay their babies in. The larvae are just too big. And so they could have survived the first wave, and then they're out again. And so those are the ones that might qualify as lingering ash. We'll see. We'll see. One more thing I'd like this series to contribute, beyond whatever significance it has for ash here in southeast Michigan. And that's that throughout all the videos I've done on my YouTube channel, throughout all the videos, I've been really encouraging natural history observations. This is how Western science used to work, entirely natural history observations. But they had to explain it in text or in drawings. But now that we have computers, it's gotten very quantitative. And so there's a tendency for young scientists these days to learn how to do that, plus the technology for how you do DNA sequencing and all of that kind of thing, the kind of thing Charles Darwin never had to learn how to do, and yet he could make discoveries. I think we've lost the initial round of natural history observations, which, as you'll see in all the videos I do here, a big part of it is not just what you're questing for, ash trees, signs of emerald ash borer or not, galleries. Not just that, it's the context. It's looking around to see what is the context here, what are the other trees doing, what does the canopy look like. All of these factors can contribute in to being able to have hypotheses become generated that might offer new directions for going into. And in fact, the fact that I use a video zoom camera, but I have a little screen to look through while I'm in, what's already been seen, I think it was episode 2, maybe episode 1, but certainly in this one, what you're going to see, is while I'm looking up at one point, I hadn't seen it until I started to edit the video here, and I saw a hickory nut. It's not an ash when that happens. So there's a lot of advantages that can come for putting in the time of just going out into the woods and using natural history observation skills, such as Charles Darwin had, such as the indigenous have been doing for millennia here in North America. That's been called traditional ecological knowledge, TEK. Well, I'm trying to revive natural history knowledge from a Western standpoint, a Western science standpoint, natural history. We can learn from both sides and keep the whole endeavor going. So let's get started on episode 3 of the Lingering Ash in Southeast Michigan playlist series. And this one is titled, The Canopy Casts Doubt. This is a hickory in the cemetery. Not a shagbark, but it does have these lower leaves here, a set of 5. Here's the trunk, very large. There's a road going up to the chapel, and in this direction, off in this direction, the trail into the upland forest off the cemetery is up there. Better view of this one, a dead branch that's definitely this one, and this is a good place to study alternate versus opposite, because this is definitely alternate, but could I see that? Could I notice that? And continuing on up. All right, humbling experience. I'm not sure I can tell. One really piece of evidence, something I found on the road, and I brought it here so that I could show it on this cement block. This is definitely easy to see that it's alternate. So here we have a twig, and there is a leaf going out with its leaflets. There's another one going out with its leaflets. And then there's another one up there. So let me pick this up. Look right there. Diagnostic, okay. Continue over to this one. So here's lower leaves, and right here, pretty sure it's a hickory. There in the center, that might be that bright yellow developing. And right here where these twigs come out right there. Over here there's, yeah, here's another alternate structure in there. But I'm not used to trying to discern this, so it is hard for me to tell. The leaves are serrated at the edges. So coming over here, there's obviously a big problem in here. And in here, oh gosh, look at the holes. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go into this area here. Look at the holes in this area. And this goes, oh my gosh, this goes quite a ways. This goes quite a ways up. Look at how that bark is just going to peel off. But look how healthy this canopy is still. It's amazing. So let's go over here and see what these little holes look like. Right in here. Another one down in there. So if this is a hickory, I wonder what's attacking it. Okay, here's another look at, these were the twig branching structures I was looking at. There's another set up here. Maybe that's obvious to someone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I don't see any hickory on the ground here, but this one over here is the one I looked at. So now I'm going to go here where I was planning. I really want to look for some dead and dying ash of various sizes, because I haven't looked for that before. Okay. Just came from the cemetery. I'm on the trail here, and Bottomland is off the slope in there, but I stopped right here. This section just a couple years ago was turned into a corridor up to the Janus Anschutz County Park. So you can see this is Washtenaw County Parks and Rec. So this is right next to the cemetery. And I wanted to stop here because this is obviously, this is one of our shagbark hickories. All right, continuing down the trail. Okay, I just came from the trail by that sign. Coming by, this looks like a tilia here. Bark and the leaves. But over here, what's down here now, look at the glorious, absolutely glorious mushrooms here. And then over here, I'm gonna go close on that. That looks more like a slime mold. I have no idea what that is. But this is recently fallen, and I did pick up, you can see how, I did pick up along the way a piece of bark where you can see a gallery. Now, I don't know if that's the gallery style of emerald ash borer, but there it is. So, the effect here, this is obviously, these are upper branches that fell, and right here you can see some exit holes, a whole lot, just a whole lot in here. And over here you can see this bark starting to come across. This is a two-stemmer, and heading up it on this side I don't see anything. Oh my, there's some mushrooms. Oh gosh, yeah, look at, so that's where it came from. And over here I think I can get some good pictures on the bark here, starting low and then moving up. Some of those larger holes, maybe that was a woodpecker getting in there. Maybe it's too old to really see the D shape. All right, let me stand up here, heading up. Okay, continuing on. Looking back toward the cemetery along the trail I walked in. Here's the end of the Janus Anschutz Preserve. Got a sign on the closest tree here. And then you can see here's the fence that goes along. So this is the area that's kind of non-designated. And the big housing development is up there a ways. And then over here, oh, we got some big trees. Down there is the bottomland. And that first green you see there would be the tops of the AMUR honeysuckle that have taken over. And then up from there, you can see as the canopy goes up and come down here. We'll continue the upland trail in this direction till we get to where we go into the bottomland. I'm just not seeing, I'd have to see recently dead trees fallen in order to be able to see any bark that I could discern from. I think this is an alternate pattern, still in the upland. This has got to be a bitternut hickory. Yeah, this has got bark that can fool me into thinking it's an ash. And the reason I'm suspicious of this now, I'm getting really wary about just looking at the bark, and obviously there's no holes in it and looks great, is that right over there is where I first measured something that looked like it could be an ash, and I pulled down a leaf from this one, but looking closely at how the leaflets, not the leaflets, the leaves come together, this one's alternate, so this one's a hickory. I'll look at this one again. There may not be any surviving ash up in the upland here. Okay, I was just looking at the tree, but coming down, this is what I'm mostly here for all the time. This is a pawpaw that seeds I would have planted two years ago. And the way I tell from things that look very closely to it, it's smooth on both top and bottom, and these dominant ones are very rough on both top and bottom, at least rough by my understanding. And the oldest one here, because it's been bitten back once, can you see the pawpaw? I bet you can't. It's right in there. And then there's some more that I planted and I'm seeing here, but Bottomland is where I'm really planting pawpaw for the past 2 years. Okay, I'm going to look at this tree and see if I made a misidentification at part 1 of this lingering ash video series. So this is the little one alongside it, and what you can see up there is it's alternate. The twigs coming out. There are 3 twigs coming out. It's alternate, and then you can see the bud forming for continuing this branch. So this one here, this would be a hickory, and I don't know. I don't know about this one. I really can't see into the canopy. So I'm going to head down into the bottomland. Here's the walnut tree along the trail. And I already took a quick look at this. I'll paste in the, whether it was part 1 or part 2. And the time code where you can see my initial one here on this fallen area. And I did look fairly closely at the holes. Maybe that's a D shape there. Yeah, but I wonder if this has just been here too long, because I did bring along a tool to peel back bark, and here you can see bark that I peeled back, and I just don't see prominent galleries. Look, I peeled a long one here, and here it is. Maybe it's been so loose it's just gone away already, the gallery view. Here's another in here. So again, this is my part 3 is my quest for absolutely dead trees that I can monitor, and this is the only one that I'm really sure of, just because of some of the bark. You know, when I tried to pull some up here, there's some termites or something living under there. I don't want to disturb them, but fortunately there was some bark hanging down, and I put it up here, and this definitely you can see some galleries in. Okay, at least I can see. So this is a close-up of the tree. Take a look at some of the holes. And then here's where the bark stops and it lost its top. But I can go around to where the top is. Over there is where the top is, and you can see here some more bark down here. Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing up here something that might look, yeah, see that there, yeah, that's gallery. That's gallery. So for sure this one, I would say that we've got a winner here. And I also looked at that area there too. Yeah, I won't go any farther on that. Okay, I'm continue looking for recently deadened down. All right, I'm at the spot on the trail that curves to the right. We'll go around here and then under a log and side trail to the river. And this I already pointed out. Last year I planted, was it germinated pawpaw seeds here? But yeah, those beauties, those are pawpaws in there. Yeah, but what I just noticed for the first time coming by here, even though this has very little bark left on it, fortunately, it does have galleries that come into view. Look at this right here. Yeah, look at that. So an expert would be able to tell whether that's the kind of galleries that the emerald ash borer forms. Is that it? And then you can see there's enough bark left on there that could be identified, and right here, as an ash. What I find interesting here is that I don't see any little holes, maybe right there, little burrowings into the wood, like maybe a woodpecker beak. I don't know how they operate. Oh my, that's a good set of galleries down there too. Yeah. Okay, and this is the big walnut tree, and I've got 4A pawpaw back there. But here's where the trail goes down. There's the river out there, and I'll keep looking for the dead and downed trees. And up there is where I filmed the galleries, and here's the lower part of the log, and continuing on over there. But this must have been where it came out of long ago, and this is where I walk around and go under this box elder here and then head over there. And there's the big walnut back there, and there's the trail that goes back up. All right, this is what I call sit spot 1 by the Huron River. This is a black willow, and the black willow is still alive, but it lost its top there, and you can see there's a large branch that still goes out and is living over the river here. Here is an elm of some kind. Let's see, I'll go in on some leaves here. Somebody wants to try to see if that's an American or a slippery or a rock. But this is an elm, and there used to be another elm here, and the river took it out and went down. But the river is still very low. Our grass on our lawns are doing fine with the rain, but it hasn't replenished the groundwater. So looking around here, again, nobody maintains this grass here. I think I might be about the only human who comes out here. And this one here died a long time ago. Oh, and let's see there. Oh yeah, there's a bit of bark on it right here. I'll go in on that. That sure looks like an ash to me. And this one, I'm going to walk over to. Oh my gosh, this is good. Oh, this is good. This is a branch of the one I was just looking at. Take a look. Oh my gosh. Take a look at those galleries. Golly. That's amazing. Yeah, galleries. Let me go down a little here. Okay, let me go under here. So yeah, good spot to stop for documenting that, yeah, we did have some big ash dying in here quite a while ago. Oh yeah, I stripped away some bark on this one on my way in, but I'm beginning to get a little suspicious that I'm not capable of removing bark in a way and scraping it such that it can be seen. I don't know. I wouldn't think this is an elm. There is one hole right there. Okay, what's that? And then here's my finger for scale. Okay. And right here, look at all the holes that you can see in there. And that's definitely what I would call ash bark. That was a big tree. And then, do I see any galleries here? I'm beginning to realize that unless you catch it at the right time, you won't be able to see the galleries. They'll just sort of go away. Okay, continuing. Okay, the dark area there, the trail goes through there. Came from up there, which is upstream. The river's over there. This is the downstream section. This is what I call 3C patch, where I planted pawpaw last year, germinated seeds. There's one right there, and there's one right there. I didn't see this one earlier this year, and I know there's a couple behind me. Much easier after the ephemerals go away. But this, I wasn't sure whether it's an ash or an elm. Looks more like an ash to me, but once the bark gets that bad, I can't tell. There you can see where it fell off. And in terms of looking for holes, well, first of all, let me go over here. Here you can see where a top area was. In here, that fell off. Which is why, as I turn slowly here, which is why there's so much sun in this area. I work by indicator plants, and when you see plants this tall, oh yeah, Asteraceae, look up there. Can I get it in view? There's a sunflower family in there, up there with the yellow daisy types. And then back there's a log that had fallen, and then another one on top of it last winter. That was Pawpaw Area Section 6, and I planted, I think, 200 seeds through here. But let's take a look at this tree here, just in case it's an ash. It's only one spot. I pulled off some bark. You can see bark is peeling along there. Let me see if there's anything there. That would be like a woodpecker type hole. Oh yeah, maybe there's some little holes in here. But the bark I pulled off, the only one that looked to me like I could actually see some galleries in it, long distance from the, not real compressed, was right there. Here's a map to show the site I just documented, and that was the corridor pawpaw planting connecting patch 3C to patch 6. If you're curious about my pawpaw plantings right down here in the Huron River bottomland forest, visit the playlist titled Rewilding Pawpaw in Michigan. Here's the trail I just walked from, and I'm stopping here for a moment just to show the number of large treefalls in here that are, of course, so old that I wouldn't be able to tell them apart from anything here. And then over here, and then I've got some pawpaw seeds I planted there this year, and a few, see where the tall, yeah, here we go, tall Asteraceae family. See the yellow flower in there? Yeah, that means there's a lot of sun in there. So I planted some seeds in there too. All right, continuing. Now in the inland section, I passed the butternut, came from this way and here. This looks like it's used to be a walnut that came down, and sadly, in one or both of the previous two videos on lingering ash, I showed this seedling walnut, black walnut, that I had just planted from a window box I grew. And look at how some non-vertebrate is eating the leaves there. The stem still looks fine below. I removed the mosquito net around the base there as something had fallen on it and pushed it over. But anyway, wow, okay. So certainly shouldn't have any deer stepping on it there. So I am actually going to walk around over to that section in there, and wow, yeah, look at the indicator plants here, Asteraceae family, because there is a downed upper branch area there that has bark and galleries. I'll show that. Looking through this mature AMUR honeysuckle to the treefall behind it, there you can see some galleries, and that's the end over there that broke off from a tree. But following through, you can see here's the bark, and moving through there, and then finally we get to this spot, and wow, there's good galleries in here. Look at that. Yeah, and here's, it splays out, and here you can see all the branches. So this hasn't been fallen that long ago. It still has bark on it. All right, so the walnut is, baby walnuts there, and we're going to head that way, looking for dead and down ash trees. Okay, just came in this trail here. You see it kind of works. And here's the hackberry indicator tree. No other hackberries right along the trail. You can still kind of see the trail. Thank you, dear. Back there is a big ephemeral pond, Section 8 beyond. And I'm going to spend some time over here. This big tree fall, I already, in a previous lingering ash episode, I already showed the bark at the top area, but there's also some more trees back there, so I'm going to go back there and take a really good look. So here's what its base looks like here, just sort of upturned, and really is disintegrated here, but there's still some bark on there. And again, at the very end, I'd already filmed something that looked like galleries. So I'm going to keep watching, and I don't know, this one here, I have no idea who this tree is right here, and thus who that is. But the two of them do come together, and so I'll take a look at both of them and any more I find. I just pulled away some bark from here. I don't see any obvious galleries. Small holes, but you know, could be sapsucker. But what's interesting here is that obviously this one here fell when this ash fell onto it. This looks to me like a box elder bark, but that doesn't really matter. There, you can see it down there. That doesn't really matter because we're looking for ash, so I'm going to continue along up there. Here I am towards the head end, the top of this fallen, and I had filmed this all the way up, that possible ash here, but this is a really important one. I did a lot of filming already of the holes in this one here. Okay, so I'm going to continue looking toward the top and other trees back there that I didn't visit. This is the top area. I already filmed this area in my lingering ash part 1 or part 2. And look at the bark here, but no real obvious galleries. But look at the huge things that came down in here, and the AMUR honeysuckle, and I am going to wander back through there and see if I can see any more downed ones or living ones. Back as far as I'm going to go into this area that is completely a monoculture of AMUR honeysuckle, where a lot of logs have fallen through time. This is the big one I just filmed, and over there is where I was standing on the other side. That's the big one I was monitoring there. This could be an ash here. Let me go in on the bark first. I haven't filmed this one yet because I haven't been this far back. But there's one spot through here I can see through the honeysuckle and maybe see... Oh, who's that? Okay. Yeah, that's Lanissera there, but maybe see back to where it's possible to see if this is an alternate like a Bitternut Hickory, or if it's an opposite. And that's going to require an expert. That's not me. Let's take a look at the bark up there. Yeah, okay. Coming down, and then there's one other tree that could be something. It's certainly not an AMUR honeysuckle. There it is there. And it turns into a two-stemmer up there. And again, I cannot look into the canopy. So, but just look around. This is the biggest, farthest, deepest area of massive treefalls back here, now overtaken with very mature AMUR honeysuckle. Alright, so I'm going to head back out, and the next stop will probably be section 8 across the ephemeral pond. Here's the ephemeral pond. This may be an ash tree right here. But I'll patch in from a previous video where I was standing over there in an inland sea area and took a view here of a tree that had partially fallen, but you could still see it was dead at top. This is the only place where I've been able to easily see a dead tree that has not yet fallen. So let me go in on that, and maybe somebody can diagnose what that is. Here's going way up to, oh yeah, if I go in way at the top, somebody can tell if it's opposite. Yeah, that looks opposite to me. Well, this is so easy to identify because it's got suckers coming out, and this is obviously a box elder. Yeah. Maple family, genus Acer. Okay, so that is not an ash. It's a box elder. Alright, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue walking and try to get back to the biggest one that I found. I won't be able to tell if it's alternate or opposite, but I'll get back there. Right up there, straight ahead, is the 59-inch I cataloged last time. This big tree fall where I planted PAWPAW front and behind. But I just completely missed this one. I didn't document it. But the good thing about this one, here you can see the bark, there's 0 holes in it. But there isn't Lanissera blocking it. I can go up there and see if we can discern opposite, alternate, maybe out over here on the left side. Gosh. Put my hand right here. This is pretty large. Yeah, okay, now I can hold on and keep my balance and go up here and take a look. What do we see up there? Is that opposite or alternate? Higher. Oh, there, maybe right in the center. Ooh, that may be alternate. Oh, gosh. So here's a 59-incher. I'll go up quick on it like this. And this is from a different position than I was last time. And here I can really go out into a canopy branch in here. Here's a close one. It's too thick, too dense. Here's one that's farther. Let's go in there and see if we can see anything. Opposite or alternate? How can we tell? Maybe there. Yeah. Probably the last I'm going to be filming today. Not as many mosquitoes as the last time I was down here, but I still have on the full head net, my arm protection. Some birds today. Okay. All right, whether you're hickory or ash, may the forest be with you and all your friends out here. So that's the end of episode 3 of Lingering Ash in Southeast Michigan. I'm Connie Barlow. May the forest be with you.